Good, happy Friday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to your news and weather update. Let's get started. First up, snow possible on New Year's Eve. Don't put your shovels away yet. New Year's weekend will feature partly sunny skies, brisk temperatures, and more snow. A significant winter storm slammed many parts of the state Thursday into early Friday. Some areas saw over 1 foot of snow, while many others saw a few inches to over 6 inches. Coastal areas were hit by a mix of rain and snow. Flakes will end across northern and central New Hampshire Friday night, and bright start on Saturday will follow. Light snow will move through Saturday night across many parts of New Hampshire. A coating to an inch could fall south and east of the Lakes region, with 1 to 2 inches elsewhere. A spot 3-inch amount is possible in northern New Hampshire. Sunshine will return for many on New Year's Day. High temps will be in the mid-20s far north to low 30s far south on Saturday, and in the low 30s north to around 40s on New Year's Day. A mix of freezing rain and rain changing to rain is likely on Tuesday. 2 hospitalized after 6-car crash on I-93 in Windham. Let's take a listen to this video. Good, happy Friday. I'm Riley King, and welcome to my news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's get started. 2 hospitalized after 6-car crash on I-93 in Windham. 2 people were taken to the hospital Friday morning after 6 cars were involved in a crash along I-93 South in Windham. Emergency officials who went to the crash site along a stretch of highway near exit 3 found 6 cars that apparently were struck from behind in a chain reaction collision, police said. 2 women were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Others involved in the crash refused treatment. State police are monitoring traffic in the area because of extreme solar glare and heavy traffic. Crews are working to clean the crash scene. And that does it for my news report right here on the Riley King Network. I'm Riley King for the Riley King Network. Have a great Friday. Goodbye, everyone. Okay, and there you go on that report. Man accused of breaking into multiple Dover businesses. A Dover man is facing charges after police said he broke into several businesses in the city. Sean Hill Jr., 23, is accused of burglarizing businesses early Tuesday morning at the Cocoa Mill buildings at 383 Central Avenue. Police said Hill forced his way into multiple businesses and stole cash, gift cards, and electronics. Hill was arrested Tuesday afternoon at Patty B's restaurant after he attempted to use a stolen gift card, according to investigators. Hill is charged with 7 counts of burglary. He is being held without bail because there were already warrants for his arrest. Firefighters return to Loon Mountain condo fire to extinguish hotspots. Let's take a listen to this video from NH1 News.
Know the 5 signs.
Nearly 1 in 5 people
Has a diagnosable mental health condition.
Every time you help somebody with a mental health problem, you help all the people who love that person.
Investigators are on the scene of the condo fire on Loon Mountain trying to figure out what sparked flames and when residents can return home safely. NH1's Celine MacArthur explains.
Nearly a day after the fire broke out at these Loon Mountain condominiums, there are still hot spots. There's still smoke swirling inside, so the only people allowed in are the firefighters. With holiday skiers and snowboarders looking on, firefighters in full gear drag out the hoses for a second time to extinguish what's left of this massive fire once and for all.
Oh, what a shame.
There were witnesses that started shooting 20, 30 feet out of the roof line.
Lincoln Fire Chief Ronald Beard says the flames tore through 2 units and heavily damaged a third. Fire departments from 9 towns responded. Their biggest challenge? Navigating these narrow, winding, uphill roads in the snow.
It's amazing, and the fact that they get up here at all, and it was during the height of that storm.
Thankfully, Mother Nature didn't throw the 50-mile-an-hour winds at us.
But they did have to deal with a potentially explosive obstacle, this propane tank on the backside of the burning condo.
Anytime you have a propane tank next to a building that's burning, obviously we protected that exposure.
Chief Beard and town manager Butch Burbank both relieved that no one was inside these homes at the time.
That's your worst nightmare, is getting to a scene fully involved and you see a car in the yard and you don't know if that person got out.
The most important thing, no one was injured. None of our firefighters got injured. All this can be rebuilt.
Right now, the state fire marshal is on scene trying to figure out what caused this fire. So as soon as we have more details, we will let you know. Reporting at Loon Mountain, I'm Celine MacArthur, NH1 News.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Alleged Russian hackers are among FBI's most wanted. Let's take a listen to this video from ABC News.
The family is dying!
The family is broken! The spell is broken!
You can't tell the orchestra that they're your family and then just leave them.
You really do want to conduct.
Can you help me?
What do we want?
You keep us waiting, losing our minds. We're all crazy.
Are you ready for the changes, Island?
I think they're already happening.
The escalating tensions between Russia and the United States. You were looking live at the Kremlin. That's the center of the Russian government, where officials are talking retaliation this morning.
Yeah, this comes after President Obama announced new sanctions against Russia, payback for the alleged hacking of our presidential election. ABC's Mary Bruce is at the White House with the latest on this story. Mary, good morning to you.
Good morning. That's right. An eye for an eye. Russia is promising to fight back, set to expel dozens of American diplomats after the U.S. did the same. President Obama has given 35 Russian diplomats until noon on Sunday to leave the country and hit Moscow with tough sanctions. The president saying every American should be alarmed by Russia's cyber attacks and harassment of U.S. officials. It's an unprecedented strike. The White House punishing Russia in part for interfering in the U.S. election. President Obama taking executive action, expelling 35 Russian diplomats, giving them and their families just 72 hours to get out, and shutting down 2 Russian compounds. A 45-acre estate on the Maryland shore bought by the Russians in 1973, and this Long Island mansion, a beachfront manor once owned by an oil executive, bought by the Russians in the 50s. In Moscow, 2 leading intelligence agencies slapped with sanctions, 4 top officials too, including the head of military intelligence. The U.S. also targeting 2 notorious cyber criminals wanted by the FBI, one accused of stealing $100 million. Not on the list, the Russian president, even though President Obama has strongly suggested Putin was aware of the attacks.
Not much happens in Russia without Vladimir Putin.
And there's also retaliation we don't know about. No details on any covert cyber attacks, but the president promising the actions announced are not the sum total of our response. Russia is blasting the measures, a Kremlin spokesman calling them unpredictable and aggressive. And they're accusing the White House of trying to undercut the incoming Trump administration. The president-elect suggests the crackdown is misguided, saying in a statement that while he'll meet with intelligence leaders next week, it's time for our country to move on to bigger and better things. Trump has repeatedly questioned whether Russia was behind the hacking.
They have no idea if it's Russia or China or somebody. It could be somebody sitting in a bed someplace.
But the White House says there is no question Russia interfered. The administration releasing new declassified details explaining how Russian groups hacked the Democratic Party, at times tricking officials into handing over their credentials by mimicking their employers' email systems. Now, in just 3 weeks, President Trump could undo these measures, but that could be politically difficult. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle support these tough actions. Now, as for those countermeasures, Russia promises they're coming later today, measures that they say will make U.S. officials feel uncomfortable. Dan and Paula?
Yeah, those sanctions appear to be the one thing that Republicans and Democrats are agreeing on right now. Mary, thank you.
There you go on that report. Stocks close out 2016 with double-digit gains after third day of losses. Despite a lacquerous day in the stock market, the Dow finished 2016 up 13.42%, while the S&P 500 nearly missed out on ending the year with double digits. The Nasdaq meanwhile wrapped up 2016 with a net gain of 7.5%. 9 last-minute Obama moves to systemize Trump's agenda. Let's take a listen to this video from CNN.
Now, among those actions, Fred, we've already been talking about are sanctions against 9 entities and individuals, including officials from the Russian intelligence services, also from the FSB, which is the what replaced the KGB, 2 Russian intelligence services, 4 individual officers of Russian intelligence, 3 companies that provided material support to those cyber operations. Also, the Secretary of the Treasury is designating 2 Russian individuals for using cyber-enabled means to cause misappropriation of funds and personally identifying information. We also learned that the State Department is shutting down 2 Russian compounds in Maryland and in New York that the government says were used by Russian personnel for intelligence-related purposes, and declaring 35 Russian intelligence operatives as persona non grata. So that is among the actions that the administration is announcing today, in addition to the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI releasing declassified technical information on these Russian civilian and military intelligence services and their cyber activity, so that people who are trying to defend networks against those kinds of attacks have the information they need.
There you go on that report. And now time for your weather. Your weather for tonight, mostly clear, 19 degrees, winds west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And that does it for your news and weather update right here on the Riley King Radio Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday night. Good night, everyone. Bye.